Welcome to On Point Live. Every week we're here at this time to bring you the latest news in sports, football, everything in between. I'm the announcer here, Michael Horn, but the stars of our show is the star of Super Bowl 14, quarterback Vince Ferragamo with the Los Angeles Rams, Green Bay Packers, Buffalo you played with,
Bills.
Canada you went up there for a while.
Ran off
it was
to
a
Canada.
blue time, yeah.
Free agency.
And tried to make it
before
a
it
state
existed.
here, and then the whole thing collapsed. And then we got our Hall of Famer here on the show today, four-time NFC Offensive Lineman of the Year, the great Jackie Slater, everybody. We call him, because we're sponsored by Harmony Cheese, the big cheese on this broadcast. You know not only football, Jackie, but you're a cheese expert.
Well, I have a discerning palate when it comes to cheese.
When we first got the cheese, you laid it out in such a display that it's amazing, and you still like the Abergele, is that correct?
Love the Abergele. The smoked Gouda is growing on my taste buds as well, and there's a couple of others. I mean, all of the cheese that our sponsor provides, it's all excellent.
Jackie and I had the great cheese the other night.
Here we go. He's
Great
changed his mind.
Italian pasta with broccoli. You know, I used to love it as a kid growing up.
You mean broccoli?
Broccoli?
Yeah, or
Right.
broccoli.
Oh, yeah, broccoli.
Oh, okay, broke.
But you know, the Parmesan. Okay, the Harmony cheese, the Parmesan, you grate it right on the broccoli. It was just so sweet, and you know, just the moisture in it. It was just so
How
great.
did you get the Parmesan, Jackie? Did they send you any
No,
Parmesan?
I don't remember
I
getting any
didn't get any
Parmesan.
Parmesan.
I like to
You
have
Italians
something that's so
good.
sweet
Oh,
and great.
Italians
know.
get the Parmesan.
I mean, you get it from Italy, you get it from, but man, this cheese was just like picture perfect for
I
this
do
meal.
like Parmesan on my pasta,
It was
too.
really good.
We'll
Jackie.
get you some, Jackie.
Yeah.
You and I'll take care
Add
of
a
it. By the
little
way,
salt, pepper.
follow us on our website, onpointlive.net. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's On Point Live with Vince and Jackie. Our Instagram, follow us on on.point.live. A lot of postings there for you. And remember, harmonycheese.com. Go there, order some cheese. But you can email us with your name and address, and we will put you in the drawing to get a Harmony cheese pack and Vince Ferragamo wines, right?
I have the Caressa J with that cheese, huh, Jackie?
That's great.
Just
The
wine
Caressa
and
J is
cheese
my
pairings.
favorite.
Yeah.
It's good
Go
stuff.
to
That's my favorite.
Just go to onpoint at crntalk.com, onpoint at crntalk.com. Now, we got a guest coming up. When we come back, the guy has the same last name as you, Jackie. I don't know how this happens. What? That guy by the name of Matthew Slater, one of the greats in football, just retired recently. We want him to come back again and play for the Rams, but we'll talk to him about it. Stay with us here. It's On Point Live. Anything else you guys got to talk about today? Maybe basketball,
A little
baseball?
maybe baseball. And how
Baseball.
about some of these?
Hey,
Baseball.
how about Cooper Kupp?
Oh, God, yeah.
We'll talk
about
Cooper
him.
Kupp as well, too. It's On Point Live. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends. Go to onpointlive.net. Onpointlive.net. Email us onpoint at crntalk.com. Welcome back. I'm Michael Horn, and this is On Point Live, a show put together and created by the two hosts here on the show, Jackie Slater and Vince Ferragamo. A great show. We invite you to listen to us. Go to crntalk.com. You can go to onpointlive.net and check out the shows. But we're on radio stations all around the country. We've got our video podcast as well, too. Search it out at crntalk.com. Again, that's crntalk.com. Click on the page there that's got the pictures of Vince Ferragamo and Jackie Slater. All right, we got a great guest coming up here now. This guy, a former professional football player, and played, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 16 seasons with the same team. And his dad, Jackie Slater, played with the same team, the Los Angeles Rams, and the New England Patriots is Matthew Slater's team. He's a special teams player, one of the most outstanding of all time. In fact, so good, and I love Coach Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick has called Matthew Slater the best in the phase of the game player of all time, and we'll find out about that as well, too. Welcome, Matthew Slater. Thanks for taking time to be with us today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Great to be with you all.
All right,
Matthew,
man.
I got to start by asking Matthew first of all.
Oh, boy.
First of all, Matthew, thanks
Sorry.
for finding
Sorry,
time.
Matthew.
Thanks for finding time to be on the show. But I don't want to sound like I want to toot my own horn. But Matthew, I was your first football coach. Okay, when you played flag football, you know, even he coached with your dad. We coached on the same team, but you know they threw him out of a game.
Wait a minute.
Remember that one, Matthew?
They sure did.
They did. They threw you out, Jackie. Yeah.
Yeah, but what happened to you?
Well, you know, okay, so I got thrown out after you did,
Yes,
right?
you did.
While you were a coach?
Mike, all I said to the umpire was, that was uncalled for. You can't do that. He says, you're out of the game. So we had
What did you say? What was uncalled for you?
Well, that's all I said. I mean, you can't throw guys out of the game for doing nothing. I mean,
Somebody
Jackie just walked on the field, almost punched him out, but why throw him out? We won the game, though, right, Matthew?
Oh, man, that was a ton of fun. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, that was in 5th and 6th grade flag football. My dad got kicked out first, then Mr. Ferragamo trying to defend my dad. Then my mom got kicked out. So it was a family affair that day, but we won the game. Ton of fun, and so grateful for the time that I got to play for Mr. Ferragamo and my dad.
Okay, so I got the second question, Matthew Slater, if I can, please. Since you played for Mr. Ferragamo as your coach, how did you ever recover from that? Your dad has got like a training camp for people.
In all my sporting career, Mr. Ferragamo was one of my favorite coaches because he made sure I got the ball a ton, and I always had the ball in my hand. So it was a lot of fun. What a special opportunity as a young person though to learn from those two. Obviously, my dad was always there for me, but Mr. Ferragamo just teaching me the details at a young age that most kids don't get a chance to learn, and I feel so fortunate to have had that experience.
Absolutely. And Matthew, I was sharing with Vince and everybody up here what a great job Vince is doing with his grandson, pouring into him. The kid's got an arm like a rocket, and he's just learning so many different things that's going to make him special as he grows up. You know, Matthew, I watched, obviously, your professional career back there in New England all of those years. I thought you did a fantastic job. I don't like to say this, but it's the truth. I never saw anybody do your job as well as you did. You did a fantastic job. And the one thing that I always was curious about was the type of relationship that you would have with arguably the best coach in the history of the National Football League, Bill Belichick, where he would take a position that I used to view as fairly mundane, take a position like what you played, and help you to take it to a different level. What was some of your communications like relative to special teams?
Yeah, well, I think the relationship that I have with Coach is one that's been built on respect and trust over the years. I think, first of all, Coach respected the third phase of the game like very few coaches did during my time in the NFL. He really invested resources, time, meetings in it, and he made it a point of emphasis because he believed that it could help us win football games. And, that he taught me that respect. And then the trust. Over the years, I think I showed him that I was a player that he could count on, that was going to go out and try to be selfless and help the football team win games. So, there wasn't much that needed to be said over the course of 16 years. I think, the old adage for the Patriots was just doing your job. I tried to do my job to the best of my ability and was always and will always be thankful for the opportunity that Coach gave me to go out there and perform for him for 16 years. I mean, it was a special relationship, a very unique one because, I'm not the quarterback. I'm not the star defensive end. I'm the guy in the third phase of the game that's trying to help us win games, but very appreciative for the time we spent together.
Wow, that's
Matthew,
fantastic.
It's amazing because when I watched Matthew play all these years, his 16 years in great NFL career, that he was always dependable, Jackie. But, you were a leader as much as anything else, Matthew, because you were a leader on that team. You were one of the captains on the team. You always went out for the coin flip. But, despite all of that and your background, growing up, did you ever feel pressure to live up to the great one in your dad, Jackie Slater? Did you ever have that pressure? What was that like?
Yeah, Mr. Ferragamo, I think there were always expectations placed upon me by outside people. Just knowing who my dad is and what he accomplished in the sport, they expected me to be a certain way, look a certain way, play a certain way. And the one thing that I really appreciate is that my dad never put that pressure on me himself. He kind of stood in the background and let me figure things out on my own. He let me become my own man. And that was the best thing he could have done for me, especially as a young athlete, just to feel supported and to feel strong in the foundation that I had at home. And, over time, I had to learn what it looked like to become my own man and become comfortable in my own skin. And I joke around for the majority of my early years in football. I was just known as Jackie Slater's son, but my dad never made me feel that way, and I'm very appreciative of everything he did to support my playing career.
Well, I think that might have changed. And by the way, Jackie, it's a tribute to you that your son says that of you. Did you raise him or did your wife raise him? Because Matthew's one of the most polite guys I've heard. Excuse me, Mr. Ferragamo, I'm talking right now. But I got to say, you got to be honest with us, though. As your career ends here at 16 years, as you retired, you were, is that your dad? Didn't some people come up and say, is that your dad? Because I know my daughter is in the radio biz, and I used to be Mike Horn radio star. Now people come up and say, you're Jennifer Horn's dad? I mean, that's the way it works for me. Yeah. You had to have some of that recognition. My gosh, you, among other accolades, I think one of the greatest is you recognize your character, which we can hear here on the show. You won the Bart Starr Award in 2017, making you and your dad, you won that too, Jackie, a duo to receive the honor. I'm proud of both of you. I mean, that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, well, look, I'm very thankful for the way my parents raised my brother David and I. They were very intentional about instilling in us the importance of character and the importance of being honorable, God-fearing men, and that those are lessons that have served me well. But to your question about did people come up and to my dad and say, are you Matthew Slater's dad? I don't think that ever happens when you're dealing with a Hall of Fame dad.
That's true.
Up until the day I retired, even Coach Belichick would, ask me about my dad and make reference to him. So, but, it was something that I'm very proud of. I'm proud that I was able to represent his name and his legacy. I tried to do it for as long as I could to the best of my ability. And I think it's a pretty special journey that him and I were able to share. You talk about 36 combined years of NFL playing experience between two guys. We realize that the game of football has been very good to our family, and we're very thankful for our experience in the game.
Jackie, I'm proud of both of you. You got to comment on that. Come on, that's your kid talking to you. You can't get anything higher than that.
I'm sitting here listening to him, and I appreciate everything he said. I did the best I could, but his mother, Annie, was just, she was a superstar in the family. Yeah. Is and always will.
You are too, Jackie. I'm telling you. It's we're going to hold on here, Matthew. We got to hold you over here a little bit because we've got a good show going here right now. The great Jackie Slater, the great Matthew Slater, Mr. Ferragamo is here with us as well, too, Vince Ferragamo. And I'm just the announcer. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more for you. Don't forget, get that cheese pack from harmonycheese.com. Send us your name and your address. Email it to onpoint@crntalk.com. Again, that's onpoint@crntalk.com. And check out our podcast for you, our YouTube channel. Subscribe to On Point Live with Vince and Jackie, and give us a like when you do it. On Point Live with Vince and Jackie. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On Point Live. Super Bowl quarterback Vince Ferragamo, Hall of Famer Jackie Slater. Both of these guys played for the Rams, and we got somebody from the New England Patriots with us as a guest, the great Matthew Slater. Jackie, I think you had a question.
Yes, I do. Matthew grew up in the house watching me, struggle to try to get to playoffs and try to win championships, which I never did with the Rams. And I watched him. Just the opposite happened, Matthew, with you. You won 3 Super Bowls. You went to 5 Super Bowls, Matthew. And I'm not going to say I'm envious. I was happy and proud to watch all of that go on. But the thing that I still have not been able to grasp in my heart was what was it that we were doing wrong that didn't allow us to win championships, at least one championship. Give us a little bit of insight, Vince and I, as to what was the environment like that just kept spitting out Super Bowl champions and Super Bowl appearances?
Well, let me start by saying this. Anyone who's won a Super Bowl understands that there's a lot of good fortune involved with winning that game. A timely play that's made, the health of the football team at the right time. There's so many things that are outside of your control that factor in. So we were very blessed to be in the position that we were in. And, there's a lot of conversation around the Patriots and the 2 decades of success that we had. And what do you attribute that success to? To me, when I talk about it, I always talk about the people that were involved. we had some high character men that were in that locker room that were selfless, they were committed to one another, they were committed to the process, and they genuinely loved and cared for the men next to them in their locker room. It was truly a family. And you talk about family in the NFL and in football, the term brotherhood gets thrown around a lot in football circles. But in our case, I really felt like we lived that. We embodied it. It wasn't just something that was said. It was something that was lived. And in those tough, critical moments, when games are on the line, when plays need to be made, when you're out there playing for something bigger than yourself, you're playing for the man next to you. You understand his why. You understand his family. You understand his story. That gives you just a little bit of added motivation to go out there and perform well. And then you couple that with the fact that we had the greatest head coach and the greatest quarterback, probably the greatest football player of all time. That certainly didn't hurt our chances to be successful. So, it was almost like the perfect storm during those 2 decades.
Wow. Matthew, what was it like playing with Tom Brady all those years? I mean, he was there on your team. We watch him on TV. Some say he's the best in football. What was it like being on that team? Was he just one of the guys? Was there a lot of more respect? What was going on there?
Yeah, I have to say this, and I think for many, when they look at Tom, he's kind of this larger-than-life figure, 7 Super Bowls, all the accomplishments, all the records. But Tom is just one of the guys. He was such a humble superstar. He was a tremendous teammate in the way that he served the team, the way that he was there for us as individuals. He never put himself above the team. Just a total role model for what it looks like to be a superstar in athletics, not just in football, but in athletics. And he really set the tone for our entire organization. When you see the best player in the league operating the way that he did, with a great sense of urgency, a great sense of humility, a great sense of accountability, then it just trickled down to the rest of us. So, I spent 12 years as Tom's teammate. I learned so many great lessons from him, and I'm just so grateful for the time that I had to be in the presence of that type of greatness.
And let me just say this to you, Vince Ferragamo, and you, Jackie Slater. Matthew Slater is our guest. What Matthew just said about the team, I see in you guys. We work with Fred Dreyer here. I've seen other members, Dennis Hara, other members of the Rams that I have been hanging around with. You guys had that magic as a unit that played for each other, joked with each other. To this day, you're still part of that brotherhood. And I think Matthew's right. I think sometimes when you get in the big game, it's like a kick that maybe goes to one side, maybe somebody that tips a pass or whatever like that. So there are some breaks in the game. But I think the success of the Rams over the years, getting in playoff games, etc., and I'd like you guys to address this, you guys had that group, you had that connection, you were one.
Yes, when we had our success, that was the closest we were to some of the things that Matthew was just describing. I can tell you personally that on several occasions over my life, you would see me do this, arch my back, because I could just see the guy going to hit Vince, and I only can imagine how it felt. I was the one that was getting beat and had to watch this. So being attached to and having feelings for the people that you're working with, like Matthew said, is critical. I just don't know that we had it at the level where it permeated our entire team every single year that we played. Went to a lot of playoffs games, had a lot of success in the playoffs, but never won a Super Bowl, and only went to one.
Yeah.
In 20 years. That's
a good one that you went to. And maybe you had different coaches too. Did that affect things that changed with a different coach?
Sure, Mike. I think that was a special year, and I think we were a close-knit team.
Super Bowl 14, everybody.
But as Matthew pointed out, all those Super Bowl rings that he has.
Yeah.
Okay, were results.
Don't look so envious, Mr.
No,
Ferragamo.
I know. We got one, but it wasn't the championship ring. But Matthew mentioned his dedication and preparation. And when he mentioned about unselfishness, I think that stands out to me as I watch from afar and watch this team progress. Of course, Tom Brady had a lot to do with it, but the assemblage of players they had on that team, and the schemes, Matthew, you mentioned to me a couple times with your playbook, and you had like 1,000 terms that you guys would use to describe certain scenarios on the field. And it's so cerebral, it would make your mind go crazy. Can you explain a little bit of some of those schematics that you guys did? And I'm sure it applied to you on your special teams as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Ferragamo. I think for us, oftentimes when you're looking at players and the type of guy that you want to bring on your team, you look at the tangibles, right? He's long, he's fast, he's strong, whatever it is. We want that guy here. I think the way that Coach built the roster in New England over the years was, maybe he would sacrifice a little on the athleticism in favor of football IQ and intellect and just toughness, those things that maybe you can't always tangibly measure. And I think we use that to our advantage. A big part of who we were was being able to morph into a different team week to week based off the matchup. Hey, this team does this, so this week we need to play the game this way. And what enabled us to do that was the complexity of our playbook. We had an answer for everything almost. And these are things that we worked on year round. You mentioned the one-word terms to get us into formations, to identify situations, to adjust or change what we were doing based off the looks that we were getting. We spent a lot of time on situational football, and we spent a lot of time on committing ourselves to the mental side of the game. And, that's something that we don't spend a lot of time talking about when we evaluate players and teams now. But for us, we really prided ourselves on the fact that we could perform mental gymnastics at a high level and morph into whatever we needed to morph into to be successful from week to week.
I think you have Matthew Slater, our guest here, 16 seasons with the New England Patriots, Vince Ferragamo, Jackie Slater from the Los Angeles Rams. You hit it. I'm the fan here, okay? There's a lot of fans listening to this show. If there's one thing I've gotten when I listen to these guys talk, Matthew, Vince, and Jackie, it's the concentration. I say, well, how can you perform with the crowd screaming and people going and you got to make it? And an athlete will tell me, a pinch hitter in baseball will say, it's my job. So your job is to play this game to the best of your ability, and mental is the key factor, I think, in any job, and you guys have taken it to the ultimate level when you're on that team with everything going on around you. Start with you, Vince.
Intuitiveness is great, and I'm glad Matthew mentioned that and elaborated on it, because my question to Matthew, though, because he started out playing flag football. Jackie and I both run a flag football league, but most parents today want their kids to play Pop Warner and tackle football. But I think personally, the better option is to play flag football for young kids. Mm-hmm. Matthew, what's your opinion of that? You have
I agree
kids.
100%. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm actually going to be coaching 2 flag football teams in Massachusetts this spring with my oldest 2 sons. To me, Mr. Ferragamo, and I got a chance to experience this with you and my dad, it's important at a young age. It's more important at a young age to learn the fundamentals of the game, to understand concepts, to understand progressions, things like that, the mental side of the game. I think the physicality in football is something that you can come to late and still be successful in. I didn't play football until I was in 9th grade. My dad didn't play tackle football until he was later. I think it was 7th or 8th grade. And for us, I think we both would tell you is that, football is a sport that, the physicality is something that you can excel in as a teenager. What you can't do is go back in time and take away those hits and blows to a younger body that's maybe not ready for that. It's much different than a sport like hockey, where the skill needs to be developed earlier and you need to come to it at a younger age. So I'm one who firmly believes that, our young kids, our really young kids, the 6, 7, 8-year-olds, don't need to be playing tackle football. I think flag gives them the foundation that they need to understand the game, respect the game, understand teamwork and all those values. And then hopefully later on, when they're physically more ready for it, they can come to the game, in terms of tackling.
Complete agreement with that.
Mm-hmm. And Jackie, when you were having those times you're talking about and Matthew was a young kid, you were going through all that mental stuff too to get ready for the games. I'm telling you, it's quite evident with you guys here. We're going to take a quick break, come back with more, wrap things up with Matthew Slater. You're listening to On Point Live. Vince Ferragamo, Jackie Slater, our guest Matthew Slater from the New England Patriots, these guys from the Rams. Check us out at onpointlive.net. That's our website, onpointlive.net. Subscribe to On Point Live. That's our YouTube channel. The podcast is there, On Point Live with Vince and Jackie. And check us out on OnPoint at crntalk.com. Send us your name and address. We'll enter you in a chance to win some Harmony cheese. Go to harmonycheese.com just to order it direct, or send your name and address and win some at OnPoint at crntalk.com. We're back with On Point Live. What a show this week. I'm loving it. I'm Michael Horn. The stars of our show, Mr. Ferragamo, Vince Ferragamo, Super Bowl quarterback extraordinaire, Hall of Famer extraordinaire, the great Jackie Slater, the great Matthew Slater from the New England Patriots. These two guys, winners of awards, played for the same teams. You with the Rams, Jackie. Matthew, you with the Patriots. Let's get into some news here and have it a kind of a three-way going here with you guys, okay? Right. Matthew, can you hang in with us?
Sounds great.
Because we may need you to settle some of these dissertations between these two guys.
We go after it. Here we go.
On this show, Matthew and audience, we've had, should the Rams keep Cooper Kupp? Should they let him go? Should they keep him? How can they let him go? Okay, let him go because there's too much money. Okay, wait a minute. Why did they let him go? So Cooper Kupp agrees to a 3-year, $45 million deal with the Seattle Seahawks.
Mm-hmm. I still don't like it.
Same division.
All right, wait a second. Hold on. Let's start with I still don't believe it, Mr. Jackie Slater. Go right ahead.
Well, I mean, I believe it because I have to. Do I like it? Absolutely not.
I don't either.
I mean, it's the 20 years that I played professional football, I've never seen a great player put in a position where he have to make a decision to leave. And for me, Cooper Kupp didn't have anything to do with the decision to leave.
Because there's no offer was made, right?
Nothing. It was the only conversation I heard was that he was going to be leaving, and they weren't going to be getting the job done to retain him and all that. And I just, to me, it's like, you know, when I think about some of my Ram teammates, when I think about Jack Youngblood, when I think about Tom Mack, when I think about Eric Dickerson, I think about Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
And I didn't want Eric Dickerson to leave the Rams. I didn't want Vince Ferragamo to leave the Rams and go to Canada. Now that I'm an offensive lineman. I'm blocked. I know I'm just a support role player for these guys. They're the guys that's touching the football, and I understood that. But I also understood how to this day I've lived with the fact that if Vince Ferragamo had been our quarterback in 1985, we'd have beat the Bears and gone on to be the Super Bowl champions if he had been there. And I based that on the fact that I was watching what the wind did with the quarterback's ball that he threw in Chicago, and I knew Vince's ball didn't do that. And so to this point,
that wind will do havoc with the ball.
So it wreaks havoc. So this, to me, you know, and maybe just me trying to be too loyal. You know, nowadays guys are jumping and going to one team to the next and everything and all that. I believe in staying in one spot and being the best I could for that team, and that's what I tried to do, and that's what I had hoped would surround. I would be surrounded with that.
All right, so
to answer your question, when you start talking about Cooper Kupp, I don't like the thought that Cooper Kupp is playing football in Seattle.
Now, Vince Ferragamo, your balls were always straight, thrown right. Great. Wow. What about Cooper Kupp? Do you think what the situation here? What's your feeling?
Okay, consistency is what Jackie's getting at. The reason why Matthew went to so many Super Bowls, they kept the same nucleus of players on the team, and they were able to duplicate it and replicate it. Now, the Rams picked up Devontae Adams, but they had Puka Nacua. So Puka Nacua's talents duplicate pretty much what Cooper Kupp did. So they didn't want to have the same thing twice. So, but I agree with Jackie.
And he was cheaper.
Yeah.
All of that.
But also, Cooper Kupp was a triple threat. I mean, he could do everything. And if you ask Matthew Slater, let's bring Matthew Slater in
Matthew,
for this
you're
one.
You're going to make the deciding
I'm going to tell you, when I look at Cooper Kupp from an offensive standpoint, Matthew, you played some defensive back and safety. He's scary on for a defense. He just runs, he gets open. He just has a knack for getting open, and then his yards after the catch are explosive. So I think this guy is dynamite to have. I think he's going to help the Seattle Seahawks more than if he was with the Rams. I really think the Seattle Seahawks are going to do something with this guy.
I do too. I agree with that 100%. And the reason why he's going to help the Seattle Seahawks perhaps more than with the Rams because those defensive coaches are going to pick his brain about Sean McVay and what he wants to do on 2nd and long, 3rd and long, and it's going to cause a problem. That's what I tell you.
Matthew Slater, fresh eyes here, all those 16-year veteran fresh eyes. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, these situations are always difficult. You have a player who has done so much for an organization, and then you have a young ascending player who seems to be on a similar trajectory, and the club's put in a position where they have to make what they deem a financial or a business decision. And this is a part of football that I just don't like at all. Because I think when you start to talk about Cooper's impact on the Rams, it's not just what he does from a production standpoint, which is, prolific. We know that. But I think it's the intangibles that he brings, the leadership, the toughness element, the things that you can't measure. And if you're the Rams, I don't see why you would put yourselves in a position where you need to get rid of a player like Cooper. I think you work hard, to my dad's point, to make this work. I think about Puka and the success that he's had. If Cooper Kupp is not the type of person that he is, not the type of leader that he is, where he's creating an environment where Puka can flourish, he's putting his ego aside, and he's putting the team first, and this lets a young player come into his own and be successful. Without Cooper being the man that he is, I don't think that Puka has the success that he's had thus far in his young NFL career. So it's really disappointing to see the Rams let go of Cooper. I know they got Devontae, who's a future Hall of Famer, which is great, and I know that Puka is a young ascending player. But to me, this is about the culture of the team that you're trying to build, a guy who's consistently given you everything that he's had in terms of his effort on and off the football field. I think it sends a message to the rest of that locker room that says, regardless of what you do, regardless of how you perform, you are disposable. And that's a message that is not always well received by the men in the locker room.
And I think most teams forget about one thing as a fan here: marketing. It's like trading away Tom Brady, getting rid of Mike Piazza from the Dodgers to the Mets. Here's the tweet goodbye from Cooper Kupp. 8 years of incredible memories. We talked often about the Rams being back in L.A. and how he would grow to be something special here. And there was frustration early on around getting the buy-in from the people of L.A. But we knew at the end of the day, it's about providing moments, shared experiences, the thing that parents and their children talk about and remember forever. This is what makes the ending of these last 8 years so difficult. It's the ending of something we have enjoyed building with you. Thank you for those shared moments. Thank you, LA, for welcoming my family with open arms and allowing us to grow here. Next chapter starts now. Best is yet to come.
Michael, no one will wear number 10 like Cooper Kupp wore in Rams uniform. It's one step forward, Jackie, and 2 steps backward for the Rams. That's the way I see. And I think he's going to help this Seattle team with Mike McDonald over there. You talked about Leslie Frazier. You talked about this team now. They're going to run the football. They're going to get back to basic. And they've got Njinba and they've got Cooper Kupp in that lineup. They got Valdez Marquez Scantling, and they got Kenny Walker Jr. and Zach Charbonnet. So this is an offense that's going to be going to have to contend with now.
And in my opinion,
watch out.
with the addition of Cooper
Sam
Kupp,
Darnold.
in my opinion, with the addition of Cooper Kupp, they just added another offensive coordinator that happens to be able to run routes.
Yeah, that's Seattle's going to be interesting to watch this year. Now, go on the opposite side of that, the Falcons have decided to keep Kirk Cousins. Start with you, Vince Ferragamo.
Michael Penix.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, he's the future of this team, Michael Penix.
Oh, what in the world, Jackie?
That is what in the world.
This guy has made, Corey Marinos told us, this guy's made $441 million and has only won 1 playoff game, Jackie.
That doesn't bode well. Doesn't bode well for
him.
him.
What in the world's going on?
We got a good producer.
What in the world?
That's a what in the world.
That's a what in the world if I've ever heard of.
So tell you something.
I'd rather be lucky than good. How about that one?
And it's not as if the guy can't hit a bull in the butt with the bass fiddle. He's been known to hit a few bulls in the butt with the bass fiddle.
Yeah,
but it's just that
he's in the wrong color.
All the time that he's been playing, Vince, he's never taken a team. Look at what Tom Brady did. I mean, do you compare him at all with what Tom did?
Tom Brady sacrificed salary to win championships. Now look what he's done after football.
Matthew Stafford, you're a veteran now. Chime in here with these two gentlemen.
Matthew?
You mean Matthew Slater?
Matthew Slater. I'm sorry. Matthew Slater's the veteran. Pardon me.
No problem.
Yeah.
Look, I think with Kurt, and look, I know Kurt, and I think he's a tremendous man. Let me start there. But when you look at the situation there in Atlanta, you look at Penix and his injury history. I think if you're the Falcons, you have to have some insurance. You don't know what you obviously think Penix is the future, but you don't know when he may get hurt and how long he may be out. And it never hurts to have good football players in the building. Now, right now they can do this because Penix is still on a rookie deal. And I think, look, I know that Kurt's kind of a running joke amongst, broadcasters and analysts and things like that. But there is something to be said about the consistency that he's had. He's been consistently good, and at times he's been occasionally great. And if you look at quarterback play across the league, there are a lot of teams in this league that would gladly take Kirk Cousins to be their quarterback. When he's playing well, he doesn't turn the ball over. He makes good decisions, and he puts his team in position to have success. No, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Tom Brady, but I think he's a steady player, and he brings a great veteran presence. He's a tremendous human being, and I think he's a great value add to the Falcons.
Well, Matthew, I might have spent my money differently, though. The $150 million they gave him and $100 million guaranteed, I think that's a lot of money for a backup quarterback.
How long is it?
You are right.
Since we got on the money, on this conversation about money, how long is it going to be during this show before we get around to what the Cincinnati Bengals have done?
What have they done?
The Cincinnati Bengals have committed.
Joe Burrow's happy.
It's Joe Burrow's happy. Well, he's happy for now. He better make sure that
get some linemen.
They spent some money on that offensive line. They
agree.
had a few crumbs to spread out over there. I mean,
Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
You take two of the wide receivers on your team that are playing for you, and you make those guys two of the top 10 highest paid players in the NFL. And you expect to win games? What about the offensive line? What about the pass rush? They let the number one pass rusher in the National Football League last year relative to numbers. He hasn't even been signed. Who's going to rush the passer when they're running routes? Yep. I mean, I don't understand some of these general managers and the way.
But there is a connection, Jackie, because Jamar Chase makes Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow makes Jamar Chase that much better. They each complement one another. They're unbelievable together through their college career, now through the NFL. Nobody can stop them, all right? They can get open. This is kind of like Cooper Kupp with Matt Stafford. Now Cooper Kupp's going to have to do it with Sam Darnold. But then you got T. Higgins. You got to have a couple guys to throw to. But as you mentioned, Michael, 40% of that 40%. Salary of that team goes to those three guys. They better help them out.
Matthew Slater, fresh eyes on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I tell you what, those guys better be scoring 50 points a game with all that money they're giving out over there. And look, I understand when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you want to do what you can to support him and keep him happy and keep his guys around him. But this is a team last year who was near the top of the league, if not at the top in some categories offensively, and they didn't make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason that they didn't make the playoffs is because of the inconsistency that they experienced on defense. Now, I personally think that they need to figure out the Trey Hendrickson situation for him to lead the league in sacks last year. They got to take care of him. But there are a lot of holes that this team has defensively that they need to plug if they're going to be competitive. And if they didn't see that after this past year, I don't know when they're going to see it.
All right, Matthew Slater is laying it down. We got one final segment coming up to close things out. We were going to talk some college basketball, maybe some baseball. We got 3 minutes when we come back. Let's see how fast we can do it, okay? In the meantime, get over to HarmonyCheese.com. We love the Harmony cheese, right?
Exactly, the Parmesan
especially
cheese.
the Abergelli.
That's the Abergelli.
Like it.
Parmesan.
Smoked Gouda.
Go to HarmonyCheese.com. Put your own package together right there. Don't forget to check out our website, onpointlive.net. Email us onpoint@crntalk.com. Onpoint@crntalk.com. Check us out on radio. Check us all out. Go to our website at crntalk.com. Click on the ad for Jackie Slater and Vince Ferragamo. We'll be right back. Welcome back to On Point Live. Before we forget, we got the greatest producer in the history of sports broadcasting, the great Corey Marino. Never get a chance to say thank you to him. I'm Michael Horn, Vince Ferragamo, Jackie Slater, Matthew Slater with us here as a guest. So baseball starting out. The Dodgers already a winner in Japan. Looks pretty good even with Mookie Betts out and Freddie Freeman out. What do you think, guys?
Shohei got 2 hits in the last game. That was good leading off with this team.
What I do not understand is how can you have regular season ball games that count against on your record,
Right.
and then you go through a preseason. And then come back to the regular season.
Major League Baseball wants to be like football. Trouble is, football takes a week to play a game, and they got everyday play. So the Dodgers playing the Cubs 2 days, twice as the opener, and then wait a week and a half, and the season will get underway. Can you explain it better, Matthew Slater?
No. I don't have an explanation for that.
Because they're in Japan. That's why. That's why, guys.
They are fun to watch.
All right. What about the props are coming up here? Brackets. Everybody got their brackets for college?
NCAA playoffs here for basketball.
How do they
okay,
choose
wait.
the teams?
Let's try women's because I had 3 daughters. All right. Let's go women's.
Ahead.
All right. The Final Four breakdown is UConn. Okay. We've got North Carolina, who won it last year, and SC and UCLA. It's going to be a great Final Four. How about Tom Izzo for the Michigan State University? Matthew, 26 consecutive years in the NCAA tournament. That's unbelievable.
You can't give enough props to Coach Izzo. I mean, so much respect for the way he's built that program up and the consistency over time, and that's amazing.
Jackie?
It has been. Well, I mean, I only like playing basketball. The one thing that I do not that I have a problem with, Vincent and I talked about this on the way in. There's a team that's going into the final, the opportunity to participate for the tournament, that had a better record than another team that beat all of the teams that the team is going into the.
That's Patrick Morrissey, University of West Virginia. Okay, they got outs.
So Vince thinks
for University of North Carolina.
Vince thinks that the team with the wins against the better team should go in, and not the team with the better record. I think the team with the better record.
As long as they played the same amount of games, everybody.
They
don't
play the same amount of games. They were 6-0 against Quad 1 teams. University of North Carolina was 1-10.
But they won 3 more
games.
games.
You guys keep fighting it out. Matthew Slater, thanks for being with us. You're a fabulous guy. Come back anytime. Don't stop, guys. We got about at least 30 seconds here to go. We don't even have 30. Check us out next week. Go to onpointlive.net. Check us out at harmonycheese.com and email us onpointlive@crntalk.com. Final thoughts from you, Jackie and Vince.
Hey, remember to stay on point.
See you next week.